Welcome back, everyone, to the Rink Hockey Podcast. Today, I'm joined with my buddy Donnie, and we're going to dive into an all Habs only podcast today. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good.
It's been a fun time to be a Habs fan. So, we're going to go over a few topics. First, let's start off with some game reviews. We're going to go over the last three games. So, let's start off with the Tampa Bay versus Montreal game. Um, Probably one of the most important games of the season for us at the time. We're really fighting for positioning now as opposed to actually making the playoffs. And then obviously some big milestone moments happened this game. What would be your number one main takeaway from this one besides the main event we can get to?
Well, I think the main takeaway I learned from this from the Montreal side is they are not a team that's going to be pushed around come
Agreed.
playoff time. I
Yeah.
think we're finally down to the last few games of the season here. We're starting to see who the potential playoff matchups could be, which we'll talk about a bit later in the pod. But
Yeah.
this was kind of the first real game this year that felt like a 100% playoff game to me. You look at the
I
penalty
agree.
minutes there, Dante. I think we were over
Yeah.
130 combined on the job here. It felt like after every single whistle there was some form of scrum.
Something going on. Yeah.
There were fights left and right, but like we had so many players step up. Josh Janderson had a huge game, had a big
Playoff
fight.
Anderson is here, I think. I
Oh,
think
I
he
think
it's almost like every year he kind of you get frustrated with him throughout the year, but then right when the playoffs start coming around the corner, he kicks it up a gear.
and
Takes it up a
I'm
notch.
I'm totally fine with having a player like that
I
this
agree.
year
You
where if
you
you if
need
you
them.
get underperforming numbers in the season, but they really ramp it up and become an impact player in the playoffs, Anderson's that guy. We saw Aiden Struble also contribute, and Arbor Jacki. We also saw the importance of having Jacki in the
I
lineup.
I really think we see
Corey
the
Perry. I was just gonna
yes.
say Corey Perry was kind of running around everywhere,
Yeah.
trying to fight Hudson the whole game,
Yeah.
and Jacki quickly came in to kind of correct that. And
And I think
having that
that's
kind of level
important.
of physicality is very
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
I think he proved the value that he could have too for a playoff run. Like I agree, we've talked about this before on pods. Jack guy has some weaknesses, obviously. Don't get me wrong, he's not a perfect player, but I think he is that perfect 6'7" defenseman where when he's struggling, you sit him. When your back's against the wall or something like that, or in a situation that doesn't favor him. But a game like this, when you're going up against a team like you said with Corey Perry and who else on that team there that was really there was someone else that was really throwing the body around a lot
They
and he
have
was
this
just
Dastu
that
French
yeah.
guy,
And then
Carlisle. Those
Carlisle
guys.
was the other one, yeah, and Cernak was also running around a little bit too. um so it really shows the value that Jack Eye could bring in those case scenarios because you're going to need that in the playoffs. You're going to need it every game, no, but you're going to need it at some point. Like my main impression of this game was that we can be physical and still play really good tight hockey at the same time. And
Yeah.
obviously, let's let's talk about the beautiful aspect of this game. Cole Caulfield finally hits his 50th goal of the season.
Yeah, and
What a
just on
milestone. What a
the
moment.
tight hockey there quickly, like I think
Yeah.
Tampa had 18 total shots on goal. It felt like the entire game
Hmm.
Montreal wasn't even really giving up much in terms of 5-on-5 chances or even on the penalty kill. They did a
Agreed.
very good job of limiting Tampa's space and time and speed through the neutral zone. And it wasn't until that last minute Darren Radish shot, which I think he has one of the hardest shots in the league right now
Yeah.
on the power play, where Tampa finally broke through Dobish. But
Uh,
you said it there, Dante. I think this game was defined by the Cole Caulfield milestone.
Yeah.
I just like a milestone that rare in that kind of hockey environment, that arena like Montreal. Everyone calls it the church of the NHL,
Hmm.
the kind of pinnacle of what you
Mecca
want
of
rinks to
hockey.
sound like. I don't even know how you can be in that barn and not get a teary eye. We saw Caulfield's dad there taking the
Oh, he was
moment in the
so pumped.
stands, and just such a special moment for the kid who's had such a big year for us this year.
Agreed. And a big shout out as well to, like you mentioned, Radis scores that goal. And Montreal, sometimes we've seen this team, they get scored on and they lose their momentum or they lose their push. But th this year and especially this game, that goal gets scored on them and it almost lit a bigger fire under them. And Suzuki links up with Slavkovsky just shortly after that. And Kokofi gets his 50th, but Slavkovsky hits his 30th goal of the year, which is also a pretty big milestone in my opinion for his type of player. I think he's going to be so important for us in a physical game like this as well. His power forward driving style, he's had a real breakout year. We'll talk about more about him after. Um, let's move on to, we have like this a really good game in Tampa, Montreal, and then we come up against a very desperate Blue Jacket team, and we kind of fall flat here. What are your thoughts about this game? How it went? I kind of didn't really catch a lot of this game. I think you watched it more than I did.
Yeah, I think this one here, it's easy to say it's disappointing coming off the high energy game we had against Tampa, the playoff field there, but I think this one was simply a matter of a desperate team fighting for their playoff lives, like the Blue
Yeah.
Jackets in that Metro Division playoff race,
Mhm.
versus one that is a little bit tired. Came off a longer road trip, has been playing a lot of hockey as of late. I think Columbus just wanted it more. A few of the goals, I think three or four of them, were contributed to Montreal breakdowns in our zone.
Yeah.
So we talk about Montreal's man-on-man defensive system, lack of communication and trade-offs between players, people not marking up who they should be, just kind of those brain farts that you have from tired hockey teams every now and then.
Yeah.
This game also did have a pretty nasty highlight for that Caulfield number 51 goal.
Yes, that
I
was
think
an
he
unreal shot.
like I just don't even know how that guy scores goals sometimes when he
It's
does, right? So
the only opening on that net was literally the size of that puck, and it perfectly gets picked off by him. Like it's just he makes it look so effortlessly sometimes too.
insane,
And
insane.
it's and the only other thing about this game, in my opinion, like we'll talk about it briefly, but it's a kind of a big loss for us there. But we lose, I believe, it was this game. We lose Noah Dobson to injury this game. I believe he got it blocking a shot, which he leads the league in block shots right now. But you're looking at us rolling into the playoffs right away and how big of a moment or a big of a player he is for us in this league, and it's going to really hurt to not have him in the lineup. And there's not really even a timeline, right? Because it's 2 weeks he gets reevaluated, so it's not even to say that he's back in 2 weeks. It's
Could be
we'll take
another
a
2 weeks
look.
after that.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
we'll take a look at him in 2 weeks. I think some people were saying it looked like he blocked a shot in his hand or something like that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
probably,
They
I
tagged it as an upper body injury, but
yeah,
I think it's most likely a hand injury.
yeah,
But like as far as anyone going down on our back end, injuries obviously suck. But
mhm.
I'd argue Dobson is the number one guy we didn't want to lose at this time of year,
He's been
especially
such a
going to playoffs. Maybe Lane
stabilizer.
Hudson.
Yeah,
Yeah, Hudson and
he's
Dobson, like for different reasons, they are so
100%.
big on our back end, right? So
But like
time will see. Time will tell.
yeah, like we talked about too a little bit in the offseason. We were pretty pumped when this trade came out of nowhere.
Huge.
And we always talked about, well, we have Hudson who's offensive and Dobson was very offensive in New York and the Islanders before that. But he came into this team this year and he really adapted a good two-way game. He's been such a
100%.
stabilizer in our top four. Losing him really hurts. And tying into that, so against the Islanders there, forced us to make a call up
Yep.
for David Reinbacher. Plays his first game for us. I know you and I both really loved what we saw in him. He skated really well. He had confidence to his game too. He moved the puck well. And what I really liked, I don't know, like I'm sure you noticed it as well, but his long reach and that long stick is really good at breaking up plays on our blue line before teams can kind of skate in and get set up kind of thing, which if he can continue to play confidently like that, it's going to be really nice. So it's obviously not a he's not going to be able to replace Dobson, obviously, but hopefully he's able to assist the team a little bit until we maybe get Dobson back, and hopefully we stay alive long enough for that to happen. What else did you take away from this game?
Yeah, I think just on Reinbacher. So he only played 11 minutes 17 seconds. He was on the bottom pair with Jackeye for the majority of the game, but we did see like even Reinbacher's presence elevate Jackeye's game in my opinion,
Hmm.
just in terms
Yeah,
of
I agree. Yeah,
ability to move the puck out of the corner. He had a few crisp D-to-D passes. His first pass is just so good, man.
it
Like he
is.
goes back
Yep.
for the puck. He's a very good skater. He gets back there quickly with time. He's able to determine the forechecker coming at him,
Yep.
and that first pass, that's arguably as a defenseman in the NHL in today's game, having a tape-to-tape pass from your corner or your D zone to a forward and transitioning to the offensive zone or the neutral zone, it's
Mhm.
arguably the most important skill for a defenseman nowadays. And
100%.
like you said, I think long is a perfect way to describe his game. He has a very long stick. He's 6'3". He might lack a little bit of the physicality or meanness to his game, which can come with experience in a system.
Yeah.
We talk about this being his first game in the NHL. I know a lot of Habs fans wanted him up earlier. They called Engstrom up a few games ago. He got some games in here, but I think the Habs are doing a really good job of just balancing his development as a professional player, and then
Hmm.
also bringing him up here and like giving him an opportunity to contribute. We talk about Dobson going down. I don't think Reinbacher will ever provide the offensive
No.
side of the game that Dobson is able to, 5-on-5 or just offensive zone ability wise. But I think especially if Dobson is out for a long period of time here going into playoffs, Reinbacher could play a very pivotal role as like that 4, 5, 6
He might have to.
defenseman. On the
100%.
penalty kill side, he might have to eat more minutes than 11. If he could play that 18, 19-minute range, maybe not quite the 20, like top pair
Mhm.
level.
Yeah.
He's not quite there yet, but if you can get some solid defensive zone contributions from him, that's going to go a long way from your fifth overall pick that you drafted a few years ago.
100% agree. And even back to his first passes there, his ability to dig the puck out of the corner and make that breakout play is what it led to his first assist in this game, too. That was all hard work and having the sight and vision to know where to put it, when you need to put it, kind of thing. Will he
Yeah.
have some growing pains probably with that? 100%. But it's nice to see as of right now. And then, of course, another big milestone this game, our captain surpasses 100 points. Like, if we all have talked about in the past how good we think our players are. Sometimes have fans who are a little biased. It's a common thing with all fan bases. But the fact that we not only have a 50 goal scorer on this team, but we have a 100-point Selke probably winning
Selke's huge.
center. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, Barkov wasn't in." Yeah, I mean, you can play what ifs all year long, but what Suzuki's doing is no short of pure elite talent. Not even just borderline elite, just pure elite talent. His
Oh,
two-way game is so valuable to this team. And the one thing I love about Suzuki is he just makes everything seem so effortlessly. Like it just seems to come just so naturally to the guy. And he's one of those silent captains that everyone looks up to and respects on that team. And I just the fact that he's at 100 points right now, I can't wait to see how this guy's career is going to play out. Especially we have him and many of our other players locked up long term for absolute steals of contracts. You look at what Toronto did with their top four guys, where it's like, what was it, like 45% or something like that of their salary cap. And then you look at what we've locked up with our guys, like Cole Caulfield hit 50 goals and he makes under what, $9 million a year?
I think he makes
Something
under
like
8. He's
yeah,
not even
like
at 8, right?
like you know what I mean? Like it's absolutely ridiculous what
Yeah.
Kent Hughes and Gorton's been done, and it's so nice to see how this team is starting to roll.
Yeah. And like I think we look at our core moving forward here, and it's so easy to like woo and ha at the flashy players in our lineup. Lane Hudson with
Yeah.
the amazing plays he makes, Demidov with the unbelievable game breaking talent he has. But like this team is defined, and like this team will go as far as Suzuki takes them. You
Hmm.
talk about his IQ, Dante. Like I've been watching hockey for years. We both have, and how often, from our point of view, as far as the camera positioning goes, we watch plays and we're like, "Oh, this guy's open." It's not necessarily the lens the NHL player sees on the ice. He makes a play or whatever.
Yeah.
Suzuki makes those plays constantly. Like it's almost like he has eyes in the back of his head. Like you said, it's not even just the offensive side, which 100 points in the NHL is absolutely nothing to scoff at,
Yeah.
but it's a two-way game between positioning in the offensive zone, neutral zone, and his own zone. Sure, he's not our main penalty killer because we have other guys that can do that a little bit more better than Suzuki can currently. But this team, like if you defined who the Montreal Canadiens were, it's Nick Suzuki as a player, quiet, confident leader. And like I don't know if any of us Habs fans saw 100 points coming
No.
this quickly.
I don't
Like
think this
even
quickly. No.
the comparison to Patrice Bergeron, like Suzuki could improve the face-off percentages a little bit more, but his two-way
100%.
game,
Yeah.
Bergeron, I think his highest point total was 82 points in his entire career.
It's yeah,
Right, so
like
you have a player here plays a very similar style, similar build, similar size,
mhm.
already eclipsing that guy's career point totals in his full career,
Hmm.
and I can't even project what the ceiling is for this guy. Like
No,
if
I
this
can't.
offense
A
continues
lot
to
of them.
mesh,
Yeah,
if this continues to mesh over the next 3 years, he could be a 120 point center for the next 5 years as players continue to
exactly.
develop and the core
100%.
continues to build, right? And
Yep.
we've been, as Habs fans, Dante, going back to when we really started to connect and dive in to this team and follow them as closely as we have. These are
Hmm.
the times we've been praying for, man, and
100%.
it's so fun to be a Habs fan right now
It's
and seeing
amazing.
the contributions these players are making, not only individually, but the way they're playing as a team and
Yeah.
developing together and contributing to each other's success,
You know,
right?
another thing too, Donnie, is like we always like some people forget too. Suzuki put up 100 points this year, and you remember Slavkovsky was separated from
Oh,
that top line for a
yeah.
large portion of the season
And
to
they
try to
looked
get that
lost.
second line going, and
They
they kind
looked
of looked
lost when
lost
Slav
with
was
it.
there.
So imagine if you just kept that line together for the whole season. Does Suzuki get to 100 faster? Maybe. Does Caulfield get to 50 faster? Maybe. Who knows, right? These point totals could even, like you said, they're you're not really sure what you're gonna get from it, but Suzuki's had every single year a consistent increase every
Yep.
single season.
Improvement.
And if this is where we're heading with him, we're going to be laughing. And I don't like we've already talked about some milestones like Caulfield's 50th, Slav's 30th goal. He also has 72 points, which is a huge year for him. Suzuki's at 101 points now. We have two
Yep.
games remaining, as or two or one, two
One
games
game
remaining.
left. One
One
left.
game left. Yeah, one
Yeah.
left. And then another point we haven't even mentioned his milestone yet, but Hudson, he ties Larry Robinson for the most points by a Habs D man in the season, and he's most likely, hopefully, fingers crossed, gonna break it. Like I'm hoping he gets a goal or assist
Yeah.
in the last game of the year.
Unless they want to rest him tomorrow, and
Unless
then
they
we'll
want to
see.
rest him. But good luck. That guy, you can't even get him off the ice in the off season. Like the guy lives in a hockey rink. I bet you if Marty tried to say, "Hey, we're resting you," you'd have to catch him. Hudson would just run out on the ice, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and just this core we talk about, like you mentioned Slavkovsky there, Dante. Like we said, he got removed off the first line, was playing with Kapanen and Demidov for a balance of the year,
Hmm.
and that second line very quickly became the line that was driving offense for us when Slav was down there, and we just see the development of his game. Like it looks like he's finally able to like understand how to use his big frame, not only
Yeah.
on the forecheck, his F1 and on the forecheck to separate guys from pucks and when puck battles, but when he gets his feet moving, which we saw in that on I think it was on Suzuki's 100th point, his 29th goal. Suzuki or Slav got the puck in the corner, just got his feet moving. I think he had Bo Horvat, who's one of the best defensive centers in the league as well, kind of trailing him, and he just shielded the puck away from Horvat, did a full
Yeah.
loop, gaining speed, and was had the vision to find Suzuki for a tap in with his stick free in the slot there. So,
It's yeah.
Slav's gameplay, like we talk about playoff success, Dante. Like I think Caulfield, some of these smaller guys, if you're playing a very big team in the playoffs, could get
Hmm.
shut down depending on team game plans. But
Yeah.
the player that's going to have the biggest impact in
It's gonna
determining
be
this team's
Slav.
success
Yeah.
is Slavkovsky. And if his motor's going, watch out. Like
It's
that's
gonna be
it's
hard
simple.
if you're looking at our team makeup, and yeah, we still have holes in this lineup. We're not unrealistic. We'll kind of talk about that towards the end of this podcast. Like we're not unrealistic completely. We know there's still holes in places, but going into a playoff matchup, if you're the opposing team, you're gonna try to shut down that top line,
Yep.
and as much as you try to shut it down, it's going to be hard. Sure, is Caulfield a little bit on the smaller side? Yeah, but then you're going to have to worry about a Slovakian train on the other side whose motor, once it gets going, is very hard to stop him. When he's rolling and carrying the puck with confidence and pace, it, there's not much you can do, and he's going to create the space that needs to get Caulfield open. And then yeah, you got Suzuki, who most of the time you're going to try to shut him down, but he's going to be actually shutting you down without you even realizing it because that's just how he is. You know what I mean? And we'll go over a couple little quick things here, like some predictions of other people had for this team and where we're actually at. So, one thing I want to say first is on ESPN, they predicted the Atlantic Division to be Tampa, Ottawa, Toronto, Florida, Buffalo, Montreal, Detroit, and Boston last, which, as we know, is literally almost completely out of whack.
Three
You know,
three of the four teams they listed they're missing the playoffs made it, first of
made
all.
it. Yeah.
And
Toronto
Detroit
looks
was
like they're on the
close.
biggest downward spiral. Detroit, man, those guys, you should get rid of whatever breaks there are in the year because every time that team comes back from like a Christmas break or an Olympic break or an All-Star break, they spiral out of control and they just don't know
Yeah,
what the heck they're doing.
10 straight years missing the playoffs, and Yzerman's been in
That's it.
charge of 9 of them. So I think they need to move on there. Yzer
Agreed.
plan.
And
There you go.
so another thing, another thing they said about the team here briefly is just, they said the Canadiens can't defend. They're a playoff team whose expected goals against last season, even strength was 2.87. They said that, despite all that Noah Dobson and Ivan Demidov can bring to the team offensively, this is the funny part for me, there's only so much that Sam Montembeault can paper over with goaltending. So we look at that now, and we kind of look at everyone is kind of looking at Sam Montembeault as a starter. All of us were too. Dopes has taken that role from him completely, and then Fowler's taken even the backup role completely from that. And I find it funny too, like we talked about, everyone's like all the offense that Dobson and Ivan Demidov can bring, but once again, no one really counted on the fact that Dobson would turn into such a solid two-way player, like leads the team in block shots and the league. Like a lot of these predictions we look at are, it's funny now, at the beginning, we probably agreed with some of them, you know what I mean? Like some of these point totals here, Suzuki was projected to be 90 points. Well, hit 100.
Yeah.
And then after years of debates, someone, there's always debates. Can he be a top 1C on a contending team? Well, I think we have that answer. Yes, he is a 1C in my opinion, 100%. Then you have Caulfield here. They projected him at 76 points, maybe being the first player to hit 40. Well, he hit 50. um, Kowski projected at 61, hits, what did I say it was, 71 or something like that?
72 right now. Yeah.
72. So those are huge positives in projections. Yeah,
Yeah.
like those are the positives, but it's not like everyone was positive. Like the Bolduc was projected by some people to hit 42 points, 20 goal season, and for me, Bolduc has been a very disappointing player this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Duke was one that people had slotted in higher in the lineup, getting some kind of power play time in Montreal, which
Yeah,
started the year with, had a very hot start to the season and just dropped off. He has physicality to his game, but his just defensive awareness, positioning, decision making with the puck, those are all
his
things that
decision
can kind of
making is
lack his game,
just
right?
yeah, like his decision making. Sometimes I'm just looking, I'm like, what the hell are you doing, man? You know what I mean? Like I just
Yeah.
there's just sometimes that's crazy to me. Uh, two other predictions on here. Kirby Dack, 32 points in 70 games. And Alex Newhook, 28 points in 82 games played. Once again, Dak suffered from injuries. So did not Boldy, sorry, Newhook. He had a pretty massive injury this year. But Newhook is sitting at 25 points in 41 games played there.
Which is
So
a 50-point season if you times that
50
by
point
two.
season
So
in my I think I think that's what I expect from Newhook. I think I see him as down the road as a perfect third line player for us
yeah,
for a playoff team is
yeah.
where I see him taking in. And Doc has struggled. He's got 15 points in 36 games. The guy can't stay healthy. In your opinion, Donnie, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's time to move
Uh
on from the player, or are
I
we bringing him back one more year and putting him on that third line with Newhook and Bolduc or someone like that and
no.
seeing what they can do? Like, what do you think?
I think there's two. So we talk about Doc's injuries. I think that guy's had a plethora of chances to find his game.
Hmm.
Can't seem to stay on the ice. With some of our bottom of the lineup players that we have, we had a Texia this year. Valeno's played a very good role in this team on a
Hmm.
defensive side of the puck. I unfortunately think, especially if Montreal goes down and gets a second line center in this offseason, if this Hughes trade that was rumored, we go back to the drawing board, we're able to acquire someone to toss into our middle six, top six. I think Doc is unfortunately done with the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah.
He is an RFA though, so it could be a matter of either going to arbitration, which I think arbitration right now would favor the team a lot more than the
100% it would
player,
be. Yeah.
or it could just be a very low kind of 1 year bet on yourself deal that
Yeah.
Doc ends up signing to come back and see if there's something there, which would be very low risk
Or
for the
yeah.
Canadians.
Or they use him
But
as a trade bait, or like it's not really trade bait, but he
Not
could be a
much
trade.
value.
It's not
Yeah.
much value. He could be something that's thrown into a deal, perhaps. You know what I mean? If you got to move a roster player out, like you said, if we are getting a 2C or looking at something like that, like Doc might be that guy now that's looked at as, okay, you're the roster player going the other way.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And
So,
I think you look at these predictions, Dante. I think a lot of people understand that the Habs are on the right trajectory, on the right path in their
mhm.
kind of rebuild and quest for a cup here. But I don't think anyone predicted this kind of a leap
No,
this year.
I
That's
there's
kind of
no
the main
one that
takeaway
did.
for me, right?
Yeah.
Is this team's meshing. You have all these individual players that have really like outperformed their expectations. We didn't even talk about goaltending, Dante.
Well,
I know you
yeah,
mentioned
we'll
Montembeault
we're gonna jump
here,
into that right too. Yeah.
but Dobish and Fowler as two rookie goalies, and like the amount of impact quality starts we're getting out of two very young goaltenders in the NHL is pretty unheard of as well. So it's all
Do we
just good
like
signs, right?
do we it's funny to say this, but do you think we have another Halak price situation on our hands here? Almost kind of like it's kind of funny because Fowler's looked at as, he's our next carry price. Everyone has said it.
Yeah,
He's our
yeah.
next, he's our next but Dobish, he's it's not like he's bad. Like, and
He's not bad.
he's got areas that he needs to work on in his game, I think.
Yeah,
But you know what? The one thing I love from him, and you and I both played um goalie for soccer when we were growing up.
yeah.
So what I
Played
love the
played used
most,
loosely, but
yeah, well, fair. I love looking at is his passion. Dobesh's passion
oh
for this sport, for this game, is unmatched. Like everyone was making fun of the guy earlier this year because he was crying after a loss because he felt like it was his fault, kind of thing. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
like the amount of drive this guy has, like he's played 42 games this year. He's completely established himself as the starting goaltender. 29 wins, 9 losses, 4 overtime losses, a goals against of 2.75, and a save percentage of .903. He's a rookie goaltender that, in my opinion, deserves some votes for rookie of the year. Eh, eh,
100%. I agree.
Like he's really stepped into this role, and I could only imagine if maybe we stopped dicking around a little bit with Montembeault earlier and just went full into Dobish, sorry, where he could be already, because his confidence is at an all-time high. You can tell his confidence is at an all-time high. He's really in a groove. He's really feeling it. And before, like, there's been times where I was like, oh, Dobish is in, he's going to be flopping all over the net, and his positioning sometimes is a little bit out of it. But now it's like, oh, they have a breakaway, Dobish has it. You know what I mean? It's a
Yeah,
little bit
there
more
there was
confident.
I think there was a period there where he was kind of performing exactly like Montembeau was before he really took over the reins and stepped up here. But
Yep.
like I think you summed it up perfectly with your Dobish comment earlier. It's the passion, it's the work ethic, it's the drive, it's the media interviews where he's tearing up about not having a good performance, right? And I think
Yep.
that's the mentality and attitude you need to play as the starting goalie for the Montreal Canadiens,
You need
which is
it 100%.
arguably
The
the most
hardest.
pressure filled position in the entire NHL.
Yep.
We look at what Carey Price did for years, and Carey Price had that stoicism, very similar to Jacob Fowler's game, minimal movement, positionally sound,
Yep.
makes it look easy.
Yep.
Dobish has a little bit more of that chaotic energy where he's moving all over the damn place, coming out playing the puck like crazy,
He
aggressive
guy thinks he's an extra
style.
forward on the ice. Like he
Exactly.
really
But
does.
just to summarize there, Dante, on your point on the Halak Price situation, that one there I think was a little bit different because when Halak performed like he did in that 2010 run, he was coming on an expiring deal. Montreal was forced into
Yep.
making a
Yep.
decision. Do we move forward with Price, who we just drafted fifth overall, who still needs development, or do we sign Halak and move on from Price? Montreal
Yep.
still has control over both of these guys for the foreseeable future.
I would
Both
love to see them
Dobish
both
and
locked in.
Fowler are on their entry levels. There's no
Yeah.
reason to move on from either of them
No.
and
The
have them help continue to make each other better, right?
the
One will
only
take the
one you
reins
move
over
on
the
from,
long run,
yeah, yeah. The only
but
one you're moving on from is Montembeault. Like it's sad. We've talked about it already, but it's done. His time with the
I
Montreal Canadiens is over.
I tend to agree with that. I still
Yeah,
think in the long run, Fowler ends up becoming our starting goaltender and becomes
I
a better
agree.
goalie than Dobish in the long run here. But as
But
of now, you ride the hot goalie. You have two guys on rookie level, entry level contracts. They're not really like huge cap numbers
no,
yet,
no.
and enjoy the benefit while you can.
I
That's how
think
I see it.
not only that, and I think Dobish could be the perfect backup for Fowler as
100%.
well, in my
And he
opinion.
has the mindset as well, right? We talked
He
about
has
that.
they're both in on what this team is, the mentality of it, the buy-in, they have it. We have them on entry level deals. Fowler is expected to be the starter long term. I think Dobish would be providing something that we never had with Price, which was a really, really solid backup who can, when we need him to play, he can play. You know what I mean? Like if Fowler's struggling every once in a while, you can throw Dobish in there pretty confidently. And like you said, you run with the hot goaltender. I would love to see both these guys locked up. Like we have already a very strong core up front and on the D end that we're gonna add some pieces to. And I would really, as long as the development continues the way it is, but having both those guys locked up as your goaltenders going forward in this, it not many teams have something like that. And the teams that do have something like that are usually your teams that are going pretty far and doing some pretty magical stuff.
I think the last team that had any kind of real playoff or major playoff success with a rookie goaltender was Pittsburgh when they won those cups with Matt Murray.
Yeah, probably.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure those were like the first 2 years of his career. The first year they won the cup, he only played 13 regular season games or something like that before going on that run.
hmm
And then the second year he really jumped into the starting role. But I don't know, maybe we see that kind of magic out of these guys this
I
season. We'll see.
I hope so. And just one last thing before I go on to the next little topic here. I just want a lot of projections. We were talking about it, and a lot of people had Lane Hudson at around where he's at right now, 75 points, maybe 80 points. He's currently sitting at 78 points. Like we said, how many assists he's got. But the big key for me with Lane Hudson is this guy is just getting started. And we have him secured. What do we sign him for again, Donnie? There under 9, right? 8 point something.
8 years under 9. Yeah.
That's just absolutely will be. You can mark my words right now. That will be the biggest steal of a contract in the NHL history. That what this guy
I'm
is going to provide for this team is going to be nothing less than sensational.
like we talk about the marquee moments that we look back on as Habs fans, PK Subban breakaway out of the box,
Oh, I love
whatever
him.
else, right? Um, just the potential for this guy to like completely take over and impact games, and I think his ability to do it in the playoffs, Dante, like we could go ahead 20 years from now, end of his career, and probably make an hour long video of just Lane Hudson like NHL highlights, right? And like you
100%.
said, having him locked in for the next 8 years, under $9 million, cap is continuing to increase. I still think we need to find his like permanent
Partner.
long-term D partner. A lot of this year,
Maybe
he's
it's
78
Reinbecker.
points, 78 points playing with Struble and Carrier for the
Oh
majority
gosh.
of his season, which I'd argue his best hockey was even beside Dobson, but the Habs
It
are
was
hell bent on keeping Dobson with
on keeping
Matheson
them
to
separate.
balance him
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
But like if it's Hudson Reinbacker long term, that could end up being one of the best pairs, the best defensive pairs in the NHL very soon
Yeah.
here, if
100%.
Reinbacker develops. So
It
things
what
are
it
looking good.
pushes it pushes Gooley down to your third pairing too. Like
Shutdown,
that's pure
physical,
depth
yeah,
right there.
for sure.
Let's look at some we'll quickly look at our playoff potential matchups. Let's go with so our potential options right now we got Tampa, Buffalo, Carolina, Boston, Ottawa. First, I'm gonna ask you, out of all those teams, who do you want the most?
Yeah, I don't think
Or
I'm pretty
Carolina's
sure
not
with
really an option anymore.
well, I don't think Boston
Or
or
but
Ottawa. Well, if
no,
we
it
get
could
if we
still
get
happen.
first in the
Yeah.
division,
If
but
we
we're
if we win the next game and everyone and
yeah,
Boston or not Boston and Tampa and Buffalo lose, we finish first. So the
yeah,
only
I don't
option
think
there, Carolina, we can't play.
because
That's
we can't
basically
fall
like
to
that.
a wild card
We can't
anymore.
fall
So it's
down. Yeah,
it's either Tampa Bay, Buffalo in second or third, depending on seeding,
yeah,
or if we get first in the division somehow, if Buffalo loses these next 2 games, we could play the first wild card team, which are Boston or Ottawa. So I
yeah,
think best case scenario as far as who I think the Habs would match up best against would be the Boston Bruins.
yeah.
I think the games we've had this year against them, we've outperformed them pretty thoroughly in those games.
hmm
We were actually 2-2 against them.
Like
Uh,
2-2, but I'm like 99% sure. Don't quote me on it. I could be wrong, but that might have been one of the games where we had Montembeau playing.
oh, I think you're right. I think you're right. But
Not to throw him under the bus, but if I'm looking at what the team is currently right now and how they're playing with what we have with Dobish and how the team's rolling, I agree with you. I think Boston is our matchup for that. Boston's having a lot of injury issues as well too, and I mean, in
I
a
just,
playoff game, like you're gonna shut down someone, right? I
yeah, I
feel
think,
like they have
sorry.
Pasternak. Sorry, like I feel like they got Pasternak and McAvoy in the back end. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They have talent, but like I feel like they're an easier team to shut down in the playoffs based on the other teams that you mentioned. Like I feel like Boston is more of a team that we can shut down easier.
I think our biggest kryptonite going into the playoffs are the fast and physical teams, not so much just physical. I
Yeah,
think if we play a physical and slow team, we can kind of skate them into the ground, create odd man rushes, and create offense off of the rush.
yeah.
So I think Boston is a little lower than the other teams listed here. Boston will be my number one. I think Tampa Bay, Buffalo. Right now, they're a little bit of a coin toss to me. Buffalo, I was scared of more for a while, but
They come
Tampa,
back down.
these last few games against Tampa, I just think it would be an absolute war, especially in
Yeah,
the first round of the playoffs.
it's gonna
I
burn
would love
us.
to, I would love to avoid that in the first round if possible. I
Yep.
think Buffalo would be a more of a finesse, maybe a little bit of physicality, but less so than Tampa. I think Tampa can't really keep up with their speed either necessarily. That's why they were kind of dragging us down there earlier this week. And honestly, man, Ottawa is one of the hottest teams in the league, and they scare the crap out of me as a Habs fan. I
Ottawa, yeah.
we know how Ottawa plays and goons it up against the Habs. It would be great to have 4 home games in a playoff round, with the
Yep,
Canada
I
Center getting
agree.
sold out by Habs fans. But I do not want to match up against the Ottawa Senators. I hope they stay in that Metro bracket, and if
Hmm.
they get hot, the earliest we play them will be the Eastern Conference Finals. So,
Agreed.
um, Ottawa would honestly be the team I'd want to face the least out of all of these, I think.
I think the most realistic option is going to be Tampa. I think we're going to end up with Tampa round one here, and I'm hoping that we can still take home ice advantage for
Yep.
that series.
Set
You
the
know,
tone, right?
it's going to be the most like it's going to suck because yeah, like you said, that series is going to beat the living hell out of this team. It would be nice if we can get a Boston or even a Buffalo instead, but the most likely I think is going to be Tampa here, and then. The one thing I do look at when you look at the bracket of how the playoffs are gonna kind of layout, and the Atlantic Division has been one of the strongest in the entire league this year, and the East as a whole has been very strong. And you look at our path, you're gonna verse Tampa or Buffalo round one. And if you get to round two, you're probably versing Buffalo. If they're like if the playoffs started today, it's Tampa Bay, Montreal, Buffalo, and Boston. You're most likely if you get past Tampa, you're meeting Buffalo next round, which, like you said, is a fast big team. So another team that's just gonna beat the living hell out of us after we've already been beat the living hell out of by Tampa Bay. So our path is very difficult. I know a lot of people were I was reading online. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but they're like, "Oh, Montreal has an easy path to the conference or to the conference, and then they should have an easy time in that conference final." I don't see that. Like, I mean, I see if we get to the conference final, like I hope we versus Carolina. No offense, we have their number for whatever reason this year. We are undefeated against them this year, and we dominated them in every game. And I'm not really scared of Pittsburgh or Philly. I agree. Ottawa's the team I want to avoid. But when you look at how these playoffs line up and stuff like that, and you wonder how far the Montreal Canadiens are, in your opinion, Donnie, what's a successful playoff look like for the Montreal Canadiens this year?
I think if you would have asked me at the start of the year, I would have been fine with just making the playoffs and having a meaningful first round series.
Hmm.
That was losing in 7, as long as we competed, showed growth, I would have been fine with it. But with the steps this team took, we talk about Noah Dobson being out, which is a huge loss.
Massive.
I want to at least see second round. I think that's
Yep.
that's a step forward for the entire core. I
Yep.
think if we can show that we can beat a team like Tampa Bay, who's won cups in recent years and had that playoff success, that would be a big kind of feather in our cap moving forward as we continue to build here. Um, What was the other comment I was going to make there? Maybe come back to me again.
No problem. I was gonna say I think too. I agree with you second round, but I also think we're obviously have fans. We're obviously gonna be a little biased towards them, but I look at a lot of these teams, and you talk about what teams can build momentum and continue building on them. And Montreal, to me, when I look at the East, besides Ottawa, is one of those teams that can really start to gain momentum. And when they start to gain momentum, they might be harder to stop. We don't. We're missing some key aspects, like we said. In my opinion, we're missing a 2C. Kapanen's been in there the whole season, and he's struggled at times. But there's been times where you are amazed that this rookie's putting up the goals that he's putting up too. Like he was pretty high up in there for goals for the rookie race as well. You also look at you got Demidov on that second line. I'm assuming we're probably going to have New Hook on that line with them as well. I think that this team, the fact of if we're gonna make it to the second round is gonna come down to which Dobest shows up and what that first line can do, I think, at the end of the day. And if that line gets so hot to the point where you can't stop them, it's gonna be a very interesting playoffs for us. Like
Yeah, I think
we have the depth all over the lineup. We don't have maybe like the big stars in the second C and stuff like that, but we have the depth, and we all know how some of those guys in our bottom six play when it comes to playoffs. Like Gallagher's been hurt right now and been taking a rest, but we know that guy's gonna wear every inch of heart that he has on his sleeve. We have Dano again as well, which we all know what we get from Dano. We've seen it. Hopefully, we get to see some pizza eating after some games. And like we talked about Anderson earlier too.
yeah, I think like you mentioned, I think goaltending is the number one X factor, especially with two rookie goaltenders. Dobish got a little bit of playoff experience last year in relief of Monty when he got hurt. Um, but that's obviously the biggest question mark coming into it, especially in a series against Tampa Bay. Vasilevsky having the ability to steal games in series on the other side scares me a little bit. But
Mhm.
this is the first Habs game in Habs team in years, Dante, where I feel like we don't the entire season we haven't really faced adversity or struggled to score goals. We look at
Um,
those years, those teams in front of Carey Price. Price played unbelievable for years, but get one or two goals of run support, very common. I think this team just has that game-breaking talent, and sure, we're still young, but we have the ability to just straight up use our speed and outscore teams, right? So the question is going to be when you're playing a really stout defensive opponent and things aren't going well offensively, how are you able to adapt and how are you able to play as a team in those tight games, right? Playoff hockey, we
agreed.
talk about whistles being put away. We talk about how tight games they are. They're not typically 7-8-1 wins, high octane offense. That's going to be the main hurdle this team has to jump over here. And if Marty St. Louis is able to scheme up plays and line combos and effort from his players to break through that on any given night, this team could have success and really get on a roll here, Dante. Like you're saying, I don't know if
Agreed.
there's any team in the league aside from maybe like an Edmonton or something that could get as hot as Montreal can if they really get on a run and play their game here. It could be very
Agreed.
exciting to watch this year, or Colorado, I guess as well.
100%. To wrap up this episode, Donnie, I'm gonna ask you two questions here.
Yep.
Our rebuild status. Are we ahead or are we on track in your opinion? And who do we see as a potential addition that we need still?
We are ahead. Like we said at the start of the podcast, I don't if you poll any Habs fan and they tell you start of the year they saw Montreal being where they are this year, get that kind of production from their players, they are a straight up liar. Um,
Agreed.
so I think bottom
100%.
line, we're ahead in the rebuild, but we understand our holes. I have all the faith in the world in the people that are running this team and building this roster towards a Stanley Cup contention. And I think second line center is a very big hole that I think gets addressed in the offseason via trade. I think it's going to be a
Hmm.
name. We talked about Robert Thomas at the trade deadline. I think it'll be someone not even on the radar of any insiders or anything. Um, and as far as players that could contribute, we talk about Michael Hage. News came out this last week of him returning to college, which in the long run, I don't think is a bad thing. More development for players like that to physically
Hmm.
mature, develop their skills, and be more ready to contribute to the finished product we're striving for. next year or the year after will benefit this team in the long run. And then we talk about like a David Reinbacher stepping up on the defensive end. I think in the long run, Mike Matheson ideally isn't in our top four when it comes to really pushing and contending for the cup. Reinbacher plays into that fold, or maybe we look at acquiring another D-man. But all I
Yeah,
have to say right now is, as a Habs fan, I I don't think we can ask for more or be any more happy with what we're seeing in
I
terms
agree
of the direction of this
100%.
team here.
I am super excited for playoffs. I can't wait to get rolling. Donnie, thank you for joining me today. Really appreciate it. I love doing these we'll do some more of these Hab episodes going forward. We're both huge fans. We could talk for hours and hours and hours on end about this team. If you guys like what you heard today, like, comment, subscribe to the Rink Hockey Podcast. And if you're just as pumped as we are about playoffs, head over to my YouTube page right now. There's a nice playoff pump up video for us to really get going and ready for the playoffs coming around the corner here. Donnie, once again, thanks for joining me, buddy. You have a good night.
Thank you. You too.